Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kahalayim Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That is to say, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Alright. Giving double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. And may the blessing of election and may the Lord's peace be bestowed unto you. You hopefully elect out there. I'm your brother Yahweh Call from Great Millstone, Orlando, and just a topic I've been meditating on, dealing with Esau, the so-called white man, and how he's been proven to be an unfit ruler. All right, because here it is, Esau, he has control over all the wealth, resources. All right, here it is, Esau, is the definition of what you would call being blessed. Because to be blessed, man, is to truly be blessed is to say that you have servants. Because you have Jake out here, and there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, we are content with all things. But Jake, man, you have Jake walking around here saying I'm blessed, but when it comes to the elites, all right, they're the truly blessed ones, because we're all servants to the so-called white man. We're all tributaries to the so-called white man. So as of right now, the elites, they're living blessed. So like I said, just with that being said, with all that being said, again, Esau, he's been proven to be an unfit ruler with everything that he has. All right. Again, all the wealth, resources. All right. The tributaries. All right. Nevertheless, he's an unfit ruler. He's an unfit king. All right. Because here it is. Esau's own people are suffering. The fact that Esau's own people is catching hell. You see? And it just reminds me of going back to the time of King Solomon, where I'm going to go to this. Well, matter of fact, yeah, let's go here. What's that? First Chronicles, I do believe. Because when you read about during the time of King Solomon, you read about King Solomon. He was basically building. And it took him a certain amount of years to build a temple. It took him a certain amount of years to build his house and things of that nature. So with that being said, I'm gonna go to this real quick. First Chronicles, or might be Second Chronicles 10. Yes, Second Chronicles 10. Let's start on 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for to Shechem, where all Israel came to make him king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was in Egypt, whither he had fled from the presence of Solomon the king, heard it, that Jeroboam returned out of Egypt. And they sent and called him. So Jeroboam and all Israel came and spake to Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore ease thou somewhat the grievous servitude of thy father, and his heavy yoke that he put upon us, and we will serve thee. Talking about King Solomon, right? Because when you go to now, this is why, again, going back to the topic of this video, when it comes to Esau, man, because it's not to say that King Solomon ruled with rigor. In fact, when you go to this, because that's the point that I want to make, Esau, again, being an unfit king, an unfit ruler. I think this is 1 Kings chapter 10. See if I find this. 1 Kings 10. Because here it is. Jake was complaining. All right. But this is why wisdom is what upholds and maintains a kingdom. All right. Which of course King Solomon, he used wisdom, which I'm going to touch on briefly. 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse, I'm going to start at 4. And when the queen of Sheba had all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built. So like I said, King Solomon, he was building. So with that being said, Jake, hey, Jake was in a servitude. But King Solomon didn't rule like Esau. It says, verse 5, in the meat of his table, in the sitting of his servants, in the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. So I'm going to jump down. Matter of fact, verse 6, and she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. So you see, because matter of fact, before I get that, let's jump down to verse 8. It says, matter of fact, let's just read on verse 7. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men. Happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. So you see, going back to the point, Jake was under King Solomon. Jake was in servitude to King Solomon, but he didn't rule them with rigor, like it just said here. Happy are thy servants. You see? Because again, King Solomon, he ruled with wisdom. That discernment, right? Which we can go into discernment. I'm just looking up on the. I'm gonna look it up on the Google online, dealing with discernment. Because to apply to brothers that are in positions of leadership, being that the Lord, he brings brothers from all walks of life. So with that being said, we have to read those spirits. We have to discern those spirits. Talking to myself as well. Dealing with brothers. Some brothers need to be cussed out. Some brothers, you deal with them more gently. Whatever the case may be, we all have to have that discernment. All right. And that's why I'm going to grab that. And this is something that I've been, speaking with. It's been in my spirit heavy lately, as far as, just speaking with brothers under me, just dealing with that discernment, whether you're teaching, all right, or just dealing in general, like the scriptures say, soft words turns away wrath, all these scriptures we read, but is more so applying them, So just going into discernment, it says the ability to judge well, right? And some of these, discretion. Discretion is the word that I wanted. But discernment is good as well. So the word I wanted to get was discretion. Because with discretion, again, dealing with brothers, just dealing with the different spirits in general, Because, of course, we're careful not to offend a brother, So the definition of discretion, which, like I said, discernment is good too, but what I wanted was discretion. And it says the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing. So you see, that's pretty much it right there. That says it all right there. I didn't know. Because, they when you look words up, of course, they have a lot of synonyms, similar words. That says it all right there. The quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing. So going back to what I just read in 1 Kings 10 and 8 again, it says, happy are thy men. Happy are these thy servants which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Because you see again, you know, um, like I said, King Solomon, he didn't rule with rigor. All right, he used wisdom. All right, he dealt wisely when it came to Jake. And you know Jake, man, you got to be real careful with Jake. You know. So King Solomon, he was able to talk to the way, talk in a way, you know, communicate in a way where, hey, you know, to you know, basically keep everyone focused on you know, the mission, that, you know, that tunnel vision, so to say, you know, the bigger picture, the bigger purpose at hand. You see, and it reminds me of this here, because, you know, I've been getting into the animals, you know, just studying the animals, right? Which the scriptures, you know, tell us, which I'm going to grab here in Proverbs 6, because, you know, the scriptures go into how the ox knoweth his owner, right? The ass, right? Matter of fact, because I feel I misquoted that, so let me grab it. Yeah, Isaiah 1:3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider. So you see, because even in a sense, man, you know, the animals, the creatures, they have more sense, more intelligence than Jake, you know. So going back to Proverbs 6, that's why, hey, going here, Proverbs 6. Let's get to the point. Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Because you see, ants, well, you know, the creatures in general, they wake up, they're born, they don't have to be taught, you know, to an extent. That a lot of things just comes naturally, you know, like a lot of things, even before we knew this truth, you know, a lot of things just make sense, you know, a lot of things just click. A lot of things were just already in our nature. I always talk about how in Esau society, we're taught to fight against our nature, you know, like the woman, she's miserable because she's taught to fight against her nature. Her nature is to be what they would call the housewife, you know. It's not her role to be out there on you know, to be in stressful situations, warlike situations. That's not her role. This is why she's miserable for the most part. You know, she finds herself being in the more satisfied when she's playing her natural role and being a woman, subjected to a man. You see, but we're taught to fight against our nature. So a lot of things to us, you know, it just clicks. It's just in our nature. Like Jake knows not to eat bloody meat. And I'm talking about before the truth, before we even know the scriptures. You know, it's in our nature not to eat raw meat. You know, there's a lot of things. You know, even before the truth, a lot of us, we knew seeing two men together, right? That was off. Two women together. That was off. We knew that. That's why at one point it was a thing of being in the closet. We knew that shit was off. But of course, being in this nature, you know, we are taught to suppress those thoughts and things of that nature. Again, we're taught to fight against our true nature. So going back to the animals and the creatures, they just have certain instincts. You know, they're born with certain instincts. You see, so like I said, you know, Proverbs 6:6 again. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. So you see, all right, you know, ants, they don't sleep. You know, you see them constantly working. And furthermore, they're in unison. They're all in their purpose. And when you see these ant colonies, man, you know, because those ant colonies, man, they go deep, man, and man, it's you know, you can see the wisdom, you know, when you look into these different ant colonies, right? They have all type of compartments. It's beautiful, man. You know, when they dig these ant colonies up, man, sometimes these ant colonies, man, they're so massive, you know, and it's just like, damn, you know, all this comes from a what would appear to be you know, insignificant creatures, But something so insignificant, but nevertheless, all the point that I want to get is those ants, they work for a common purpose. They work for a common goal. You see, and going back to the point where King Solomon, he was you know, he dealt with Jake a certain way to where, like I said, King Solomon, he didn't deal with Jake with rigor. So yeah, Jake was in servitude to King Solomon, but like I just read, the servants, man, they were happy. Jake, King Solomon, he wasn't talking shit, looking down. You got to speak life unto our people, because we are all lively stones. So just speaking as a man, and just how brothers deal, man. Because it is a thing of constant exhortation and upliftment and things of that nature. Like I said, man, because brothers catch hell and things of that nature, but both we're fighting for a much greater cause. So going back to what's that? 2 Chronicles 10. 2 Chronicles 10 and verse 4. Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore ease thou somewhat the grievous servitude of thy father, and his heavy yoke that he put upon us, and we will serve thee. And he said unto them, Go, come again unto me after 3 days. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam took counsel with the old men that had stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, saying, What counsel give ye me to return answer to this people? Which, that was a wise thing to do, right? To seek counsel, right? Job 12 and 12. With the ancient is wisdom, and in length of days, Slakia. With the ancient is wisdom, and in length of days understanding. All right, so it was wise to, of course, seek counsel from the ancient. All right, those with more seasoned with that experience, right? It's a matter of, if you take heed to that counsel. That's why the scriptures talk about lean not to our own understanding. All right, because I always say, man, we ain't got it. Us thinking we have it is why we're over here right now on the other side of the world, speaking this bastard's language through and through, prophesying in sackcloth. Jake out here wearing skinny jeans, dyeing the hair pink, just all where we're through and through. Us thinking we had it is why we're over here in the first place. All right. So back in 2 Chronicles 10 and 6, and the king Rehoboam took counsel with the old men that had stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, saying, What counsel give ye me to return answer to this people? So you see, because these ancient men, all right, they were with King Solomon. All right, so they understood how King Solomon conducted himself. They seen it firsthand. All right, but when you read on, it says, And they spake unto him, saying, If thou be kind to this people, and please them, and speak good words to them, they will be thy servants forever, which was good counsel. All right, because again, that's how King Solomon operated: discernment, discretion. All right, wasn't just some, King Solomon wasn't looking down, talking shit, beating Jake down. No, man. But rather, that upliftment. Just keep it, Jake, focused on the bigger picture and things of that nature. Speaking life, even when brothers get corrected. Apostle Gabar said this a long time ago. If you gotta, sometimes you're gonna have to get on a brother. But if you get on a brother, build that brother back up. If you break a brother down, build that brother back up. And you see, that's wise counsel. All right, because this thing of ours, it is the thing of constantly, the Lord breaks us just to build us back up. So and again, I'm just speaking as a man. I'm sure King Solomon had to, get on brothers or whatever the case may be. But he didn't just leave it there. Again, just speaking as a man, if that was the case. I'm sure King Solomon, he ought to spoke life. He spoke life if he had to get on Jake. He spoke life unto him. Build them back up. So that's why, that discretion. All right. Verse 8, it says, But he forsook the counsel which the old man gave him, and took counsel with the young men that were brought up with him that stood before him. And he said unto them, What advice give ye that that we may return answer to this people, which thou hast spoken to me, saying, Ease somewhat the yoke that thy father did put upon us. And the young men that were brought up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou answer the people that spake unto me, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it somewhat light for us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. For whereas my father put a heavy yoke upon you, I will put more to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So you see, man, unwise counsel, unwise advice. And this is what tends to happen. Instead of Jake going to their father, all right, whatever, ancient figure, whatever, superior elders, Jake would rather go to their homeboys. We see it all the time, like the, man, what's the one movie, man? Brothers Quarter all the time. Oh, man. Not Boys in the Hood. Damn. Because here it is, pops or grandpops were trying to, tell them the whole time, stay at them streets, But, Jake being stubborn and knuckleheads that they are, they want to listen to their homeboys and, and then when the judgment came, it was too late. When there was no remedy, what's that movie, man? I got to look it up real quick. And brothers know what I'm talking about. Don't Be a Menace, right? If I'm not mistaken. Just want to look it up real quick. Bear with me. And my spirit has always been I never got along for the most part with people in my age group. I was always and I get this all the time, and I don't take it to, it's not a defense to me, it's actually a compliment. But when I tell people my age, people always think I'm older than what I am, and I take it as a compliment, because my spirit has always leaned towards people that were older than me. I've always been a one to lean towards just older people in general. I would enjoy having conversations and picking out wisdom, off of the older generation, people that were older than me. I never got along with people of my age group, So I said, don't be a menace. But y'all know what movie I'm talking about, so. But Jake is such a perfectionist. Gotta look this up. Ah, damn. It's on the tip of my tongue, too. I know brothers are screaming right now, but like I said, Jake is such a perfectionist. Gotta look it up. Oh, Menace to Society. I don't know why I said don't be a menace. Yeah, Menace to Society. That's the movie. Yeah, Salakia. I know brothers are screaming at me right now, but yeah, Menace to Society. That's what I was talking about. But yeah, just using that as an example. This is what happens when Jake they this is just how Jake operates. They because essentially Jake, man, they want to be told what feels good to them. And that's what ends up getting Jake jacked up. So of course they're gonna go to their homeboys, those that think like like-minded individuals, because Jake wants to be told what feels good. But hey, this was the case. All right, because again, those ancient men, they were with King Solomon, so they seen how they seen it firsthand. You see, but nevertheless, I'm going to go to this. So just again, making a point that bringing it back full circle as far as Esau, man, bringing it back to this devil and how he's an unfit king, he's an unfit ruler. King Solomon, he applied wisdom, discretion. All right, but here in Sirach 14. Sirach 14, starting at 3. Riches are not commonly for a niggard, and what should an envious man do with money? He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others. That shall spend his goods righteously. Because here it is, Esau, again, he has all the resources, the wealth. All right. Esau, the top of the elite right now, they are truly living blessed, But here it is, because just one so-called of these, these one of these elites, man, they can cure world hunger just like that. Hell, even a lower Luciferian, because these guys, they put up as the face of because everyone thinks that these guys like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are the wicked elites, man. Those are puppets. Those are welfare cases. All right, the real elites are the ones you don't see, the ones you don't know about, But these guys, even these guys, these lower Luciferians like Elon Musk, Elon Musk alone can cure world hunger and fix all the problems in the world. Just one of them can do that. But are they going to do that? No, because they're a bunch of niggards, man. And like that's why it says in verse 5, he that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is the recompense of his wickedness. So you see, man, Esau, he doesn't do good to himself. He's stealing and robbing from his own people. You see, and this is why, again, here it is, we're in Esau's kingdom. There shouldn't be no such thing as a homeless Edomite, which there's been a more and more rise of homeless Edomites. How are you losing in your kingdom? A three-time loser. This is why Esau is rising up. And I'm talking about the middle class, lower class Edomites, because the middle class, man, more and more they're feeling that squeeze. They're starting to feel what it is to be a nigger. In newsflash, Esau is the original nigger. So really, it's just a matter of, hey, welcome home, you bitch, you pink bitch. This is where you belong in the first place. Esau is the original nigger anyway. So, but he don't like that shit. This is why Esau, he's gonna fight, man. Like the Lord said, hey, if this was my kingdom, my servants will fight, and this ain't our kingdom. For you knuckleheaded jakes out there that wanna, get carnal with the shit, but this is Esau's kingdom, and this is why he's gonna fight for it, rightfully so. So Sirach 10, I'm gonna start at 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered, as we've seen again, King Solomon. All right, because wisdom, that's what upholds a kingdom, man. Upholds and maintains a kingdom. Like the scripture say, if you desire, and not so many words, you desire if you desire all these things, power, dominion, to truly be blessed, having servants, and so on and so forth, desire wisdom first. All right. Verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people. And don't we see that, man? Again, Esau, the unfit king, unfit ruler. Again, here it is. This is his kingdom, and it's built on, it's nothing but concrete, right? Shit everywhere, shit stank, everything stank. Everything is just a mess. It's constant construction, corrosion, confusion. Esau, he's mismanaged the resources. And that's why, matter of fact, I'm gonna jump down to verse 8 real quick. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So this is why Esau, he's got to go, dog. He's got to go. He's been proven to be that unfit king, unfit ruler. All right. Jumping back up to verse 3. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And you see, this is why after 1,000 years, even the nations are going to come to understand, like, man, surely this is a wise and understanding people. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is how it's supposed to be ran. The nations are going to come to find that out, you know, and they're going to want to serve the Lord. You know, that 1,000 years, they're not going to want to serve the Lord. But after 1,000 years, they're going to want to serve the Lord. You know, they're going to be coming up to teachers of thy ways, teachers of the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai. Right? Hell, the whole earth is groaning for the sons of God to be set back up in power. You know? Verse 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. So in due time. All right? In due time. You know, because again, this nigga Esau, I mean, he's got to go, dog. He's got to go. He's had his time. You know, Barakatah Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. You know, hey, the Lord's allowed this shit, you know, first quarter, you know, within the first month of creation, the nations had their time to rule. The Eve has had her time to rule. Esau has had his time to rule. Get all this shit out the way in the first quarter within creation, and that way, you know, because I'll be damned, you know. Here it is, we're in the kingdom, and then, you know, Esau comes up and you know, takes down the Israelites. Hell no. All right. That's why, again, the Lord, hey, first quarter, get all this shit out the way. All right. Teach the sons a valuable lesson. And hey, from there, righteousness is going to be established. That's going to be the standard. All right. And from there, we'll be able to enjoy immortality, man. We'll be able to enjoy foreverness. All right. So, hey, call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai. The Lord did this, you know, first quarter, you know, within the first month of creation, man. You know, get this shit out the way. All right, and that way we can enjoy immortality, you know. So, like I said, man, you know, that's pretty much it. This was been on my mind and my spirit. You know, Esau, man, he's he's proven to be an unfit king, an unfit ruler. All right, and that's why he's getting ready to be taken out of power for good. So, Lord willing, this was edifying, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.